So I got a few requests on how to make charcoal and why. Well, we'll get to the why I make charcoal. Talk about how I make it. Basically, got here is two tanks. The one outer tank that you can see there, and the inner tank. The inner tank is a old water tank. It's probably about a 60 or 70 gallon tank, and it sits inside there long ways. And underneath that is where I built a fire. Inside the tank is where I put the wood that will turn into charcoal. Making charcoal is fairly easy. All you do is basically bake wood. If you starve it of oxygen, what we do is bolt this lid on. It's not exactly airtight, but it seals pretty good. And that fire underneath here in the fire chamber heats up, and about 2 hours you have charcoal. Now, to help this go a little faster, there's two connections on that inner tank. One of them is up here in the top. That goes down inside through into that inner tank and then goes up, and that just opened to the atmosphere. And then there's another one comes out of that top one there, goes down, and then there's one line that goes back in. That bottom thing is just a drain. That little tank area is just for fun. But the one that goes back in on the bottom is actually for reburn. See, when this thing gets cooking, which we'll show that in a little bit, the gases that come off first are steam, and then after the steam is most of the moisture is cooked out of the wood, baked out of the wood, it turns to methane and a few other gases. Those gases are flammable, and when it gets to that point, after about an hour of baking, we close this valve here and close the valve down here at the bottom for the drain, and then that gas is forced out of the tank and back into here, and that line goes underneath and feeds the fire. And you'll see that later on, where that actually begins to gases ignite. I don't know if you can see this or not, but we'll look down in here. Put you down in the bottom here. Probably won't be able to see it. Yeah, there's that line right there. That line has got some pinholes in it and forces gases out like a pilot. And it actually helps burn. It finishes it off basically, so I can stop adding wood there, and it becomes self-burning. So this whole process takes about 2 hours, and I don't know, I made this little setup about 2 years ago, and I've probably done, I don't know, 30 or 40 loads through it. Works pretty good. And that right there, I've used different kinds of wood, but this load and the most recent ones I've done have been white oak. That wood has been what they call seasoned, what it means it's been cut and sat around for a year in a dry, relatively dry area in the woodshed. So these pieces are a little bit bigger than I'm normally having in here, giving a little test to see if it'll handle it all right. But after it's all done, I take that out and empty it into here, and then it becomes charcoal. And I store it in this 55-gallon drum. You can see that's about one load, and that's what you get out of it. So take a piece. It ends up being pretty small. Break it down to your size, and we'll talk about later why I use it and what I use it for. So we're back out here. The fire's been going underneath about 30-40 minutes, and take a look at what's going on. up top, you have a lot of steam coming out. The valve's open. And this valve is open down here at the bottom. A lot of steam coming out of that, and you'll see some moisture dripping out of there. And then probably another, I'd say another 20 or 30 minutes, that steam will turn into a flammable gas, and we'll close the valves. So while that's cooking, we'll sit back over here and enjoy the nice fire. Let me talk to you about charcoal. Everybody knows about charcoal. They know about the briquettes that you get. Everybody knows that familiar smell. You go into a campground, you smell it, you know exactly what that is. The only problem is, what are you smelling? Now, the charcoal I use to make steaks or burgers, whatever on the grill. You can buy it. It's called lump charcoal. You can buy it at Lowe's, any of the big box stores. It's fairly comparable to briquettes. The briquettes are basically charcoal that's ground up and then recompressed, which has other additives in it, some binders, cornstarch, different things like that. And I'm not sure what else is in there. Of course, they don't tell you, but it's not all charcoal. There's something else in there. With the charcoal that I use, that I make myself, or you buy lump charcoal, you really got to try it to understand it. Have you ever cooked anything on an open fire, gone camping? You know what I'm talking about. There's a smoky flavor that you get when you cook meat on an open fire, and charcoal gives you that same type of flavor. So that's one plus about it. You get a better flavor. The other part is that charcoal burns hotter. Briquettes will get your grill up to about 400, 450. If you really put a fan on it, maybe you'll get a little higher. But usually charcoal will get up another 100 to 150 degrees hotter than briquettes. So most of you, or some of you, will know that when you're making your steaks, you want that higher temperature. You want to get that nice sear on the outside of your steak. That's how you do it. Get those briquettes and get the charcoal going. Get a good and hot steak on there, especially if you like your steak medium. Yeah, just the way to cook it. So again, just to make your own charcoal is kind of fun. People are starting to learn to be more self-sustaining, and just another way you can do it. We'll come back in a little bit when we close those valves and see that gas ignite inside the burn chamber there. So we're back here about an hour and a half into the burn, hour 45 minutes. And that gas right there should be flammable. So we'll shut it off and we'll take a look, see what it does. Shut off back here. Take a look down here and see if we can see that burning inside here. Wood is pretty hot right now, so you probably won't see that pre-burning in there. Maybe we'll have to come back to that in a few minutes. So we're back here the next day. Of course, everything's cooled off. I already took the bolts off, or the nuts off, and got it opened up. Let's see if I can open this up. Take a look inside. Do this one-handed. There we go. If you get that
light in there or not. But that's what we got, the end result. Big old honking pieces. Charcoal.
Pretty cool.